Hi guys, it's Thomas Moran here, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the World Cup, PDC World Cup of Darts 2025. It's being held tomorrow, starts tomorrow, Thursday the 12th to the 15th of June, and you have got a shed load of teams and a very different format how we used to years prior. But I want to give you my free selections at decent prices, and then we'll go from there. If you guys like these videos, please like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, and if you don't like the videos, please hit the thumbs up. Really helps the channel as well. We've got the World Cup of Darts and it's being held in Germany. Prize fund 450k, not too bad. The winners get 80 grand. So a lot of the talk this week has been, especially on social media, about the England team. And understandably, you've got world number one, Luke Humphries, and world number two, Luke Littler. So you got the Lukes together for the first time. It was Luke Humphries and Michael Smith last year. This is an incredible team. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I understand it. And when I was just about to start looking at the event, I thought, I wonder what price they'll be, because if I get any kind of price, I might have a little bet on them. Come up and they're 1-2. And I think that's mad. I've played darts a long time through my life, and the difference between singles and doubles is night and day. Yes, the top class players are going to be good, but you can have such an off day in doubles. I mean, you can play amazing as well, but there's such a long time before you throw after you've just thrown. And sometimes if you're not in the rhythm, if it's not your day, then those 105 averages go down to 80 averages, and you've got to scrap it out like we've seen in the World Cup of Darts previously. So there's a lot of question marks on here. You know, if they're 6-4, which I was hoping for, I might have a punt. I might have a good punt on England and hope they get a good draw and then go from there. But 1-2, they are literally, there's no way ever I would back them at 1-2. I'm not saying they won't win the tournament. They're obviously strong favourites. They've got a hell of a chance. They're world number one, world number two. But in a doubles format where they've never played together, I don't know. For me, it's an absolute no bet for me. But I could see why people might be interested to plough in. So if you look at the draw here, guys. So basically what happens is there's four seeded teams: England, Northern Ireland, Scotland and Wales. And they're automatically put into the second round. So what happens is that is a massive advantage, and they're in this format as it is. So because England are ranked number one and Wales are ranked number two, they will not play each other until the final. And so Northern Ireland are in England's half and Scotland are in Wales's half. And I think that's why Wales are such strong second favourites. You can understand they don't have to mess around on all these group games, and they just get chucked in. Again, you know, they're not going to have to play England to the final if England get there and if they get there. So there's not that worry you've got of, you know, they might be knocked out. They've got to beat the best until they get to the final. They don't. It will be the final if they have to. So those four seeded players, and of the rest, you have to have these group games. So you've got Group A, Group B, all the way through to Group L. And you've got three teams in each, and then only one qualifies. Whoever tops the table in those three games that they'll play and will go on to the next stage. And it's a tough thing. They're only first to four legs, these matches. They'll be quick, they'll be nervy, they'll be a bit messy, as we've seen previous years. And from there, it's just a hard tournament. There's going to be a lot of luck involved here, guys. Why I like this tournament from a betting perspective is because there are some teams you can get prices on where, in my opinion, you shouldn't be getting prices. And there are a lot of teams here that, you know, are rubbish, really. That's the reality of it. They might only average 65, 70. And even if you play badly, you should be beating these teams. We've got a lot of new teams this year. I mean, for Holland, lovely team of Danny Noppert and Jan van Veen. Great pairing there. Italy, they did really well last year, so they could be a problem. Hungary have got a decent little outfit. So again, these are just not easy. You'd think they're always going to be, oh, Holland will go through Belgium, and they might. Yes, they might. But for Wales and for Northern Ireland and for Scotland to just be chucked in and not have to worry about all this, is a massive advantage. A lot of people will probably go on the other side and they'll go, well, they haven't had any match practice in Germany in front of the crowd. They're just chucked in the second round, whereas these guys will have had lots of games on the stage. For me, I completely disagree with that. That wouldn't fuss me whatsoever. I want to be straight into the second round where there's a longer format and you can't get sort of caught out by a couple of bad days whereby you then just you don't make it through. So you've got to look at the second round. It's best of 15. So you got first to 8 there. That's much easier. The best teams will come through after that. But this group stage part can get messy. So yeah, the first Group A, Holland, Italy, Hungary. I mean, obviously Holland are going to be big favourites, and I like Noppert and Jan van Veen. They're great, but again, I think they're about 18-1 to win the tournament outright. Even if they were chucked into the second round, I wouldn't be overly chuffed about 18-1 in a field like this with the two Lukes and with Wales being like they are. So that's a sort of group that I'm not that interested in. Belgium, Latvia, Philippines. You'd think Belgium. Belgium are a cracking team. I mean, yes, Mike de Dekker's not playing the stuff that he was last year. He's not as good as he was when he was winning titles then. And Dimitri van der Berg's having time out, so there's mental health issues there, I believe. Belgium in this tournament are so good. Obviously, Hybrex, you've had the brothers play, you've had Hybrex and Dimmy play. They love it, they get right into it, and they're so good that I'll show you my outright picks later. But Belgium, just a great team. I can't be having, it being a very easy victory because Latvia, you've got Matas Razma and Walters Milderis. I don't know much about him. I think I remember them playing last year, and they're good. The Philippines, Alagan and the Breeder, they're solid. They're very solid. This isn't an easy group either. These first two groups, you're not playing complete no-hopers, and they'll all be up for it. Some of them will have tactics. They'll try and slow the game down. They'll try and accelerate at the right times, and it's always funny watching the World Cup of darts because it brings a different point of view to darts. And then you've got Germany. You've got brilliant team again. You've got Ricardo Petrescu, and then you've got Schindler. A brilliant pairing they've got. I expect this would probably be my favourite out of all of the picks of the groups. I expect they'll go through fairly comfortably there. I would still say Germany in their home country. They're going to be really. There's going to be some noise there, as there always is in Germany. And then you've got, they should qualify from this group, and then I think they're about 40-1 to win the whole tournament. It's very interesting prospect. Germany right there. You've got Ireland, Gibraltar, China. Ireland should go through in that league, but again, you just don't know. Poland, I like the Polish team. I really do. I think I'm a big fan of Ratajski. I actually think he's better in this kind of format than he can be in others, and they're both very high ranking and they win lots of games. Radek Sujansky, he's a cracking player together. I feel the nerves sometimes get a bit much for Ratajski and Sujansky, but I think they're a very, very good team, and they're a big price to win this kind of event. South Africa, I believe, again, it's got to be Peterson, Peterson and Carolinson. I believe he played at the World Championships. He was very good. Again, it's a decent team. Tough. Again, Poland do look the team there, and you've got Kordecker and Severtsen. I can't say I know much about Norway, but I'd still fancy Poland to go through. But you don't know with South Africa. I don't know what Peterson's been doing recently. I don't know if he's been playing modus or how he's been getting on, but I'd definitely still fancy Poland to top that group. You've got Canada, Malaysia and Denmark. I mean, Denmark, if they've got who I feel they might have, Andreas Ilagardus and Royce, decent little pairing there. That could be a good team there. And Malaysia and Canada, I believe they've got Matt Campbell and Jim Long, so another good team. Yeah, really good team there. So that's not going to be an easy group at all. Like Malaysia, I can't pretend to know much about these guys. I don't even know how they've done previously, but I'd still fancy Canada just about to get through there, but Denmark could be a problem. Sweden, Lithuania, France, that's a tough group. You've got De Graaf for Sweden. Lithuania, I expect you'll have the little fella, what's his name? Labanauskas and Barauskas. So another team. And for France, you should have Tricol and I can never remember his partner, Labra. So decent pairing there. That's a group I wouldn't want to touch. But again, I'd fancy Sweden to get through there. Austria, different different team this year. I think Roby John lost his tour card maybe, but Rusty's moved in. I think they came second last year. They're a good team. Spain and Australia, that's a nasty group. You'd fancy Austria to go through, but I wouldn't. Australia, you obviously got Heta and Whitlock, so they're unseeded because Whitlock's obviously not got a tour card anymore, but Australia have done well in this tournament before Nicholson's done well, and I wouldn't want to be, that's tough. You're going to lose two good teams there in that group. United States, we've got against Hong Kong and Bahrain. Hong Kong are big favourites to win this, and the US, it's quite strange. They're seeded, but they'll have Lauby and they'll have Donghan, and there's a lot of talk about the struggles that Jules van Dongen's had and switching arms to potentially play. But a guy who gave me a coaching session once before has actually been over to America and was helping him out. And I don't know, there wasn't, he was improving, and this was a while back, ready for this, specifically for the World Cup of Darts. If he can get back to a decent level, Larby's a great player, they could, I think there's something like 3-1 or something to win the group. I know Hong Kong are good and they've got two very good players, but it just feels that could be the value bet of these groups, of the US coming through. Could they go much further? Probably not. If he is still struggling, then it's going to be hard against the bigger teams, but it's something to think about. Czech Republic, India and Chinese Taipei. For Czech Republic, I'm trying to think who we've got here. We've got Sedlacek, big fan of him. Can't say I know Kvaka. So that could be, I wouldn't want to comment. India, they've got really good Kumar's, great player. Strength in depth there, you'd think the Czech Republic would probably go through, but it's probably one of the weaker groups there. Croatia, Japan, Switzerland. I guess it would be Boris, Boris Kuchma, great player, and Lucic. I think that they look like the great pairing there to go through. Japan and Switzerland might struggle. And then we've got Argentina in Group L. This is their first ever World Cup of Darts, I believe, against New Zealand and Finland. Finland, the big favourites to go through here. Understandably, they've done well previously, and I expect that they will go through again this time. So on to my selections, guys, as you've been waiting very patiently as I go through all that. So this is the second round. What will happen is the winners of all those groups will then be randomly drawn and placed against any of these four teams wherever they're drawn, and then that's the knockout stages start right there. And like I say, I cannot be backing England at 1-2. It's just not something I could ever do. It's not the way I play. It's not the way I gamble. I go for bigger odds and then potentially trade out if things change. So if I had someone at 8-1 and they were doing really well and England got knocked out or whatever, then maybe they'll come into sort of odds on or even money, and then I might want to guarantee some profit whatever happens. That's more how I'd play it rather than back England for 500 quid to win 250. It's a lot of risk there. For doubles is a mess. If this was singles, I think England is very difficult to beat them in a doubles format. Yeah, best, even the final, first to 10, I don't know, I just been one bad day in singles. I think Littler had one recently and he still won 6-3. He was rubbish. He averaged 90 something, but in doubles it's different. If you get frustrated, if the partner doesn't leave you on the right doubles, if you're, Luke's more of a sort of double 16, double top kind of guy. Luke's obviously double 10. They're all amazing players, so it won't matter too much, but we don't know how it will gel. They're both very competitive. They could both sulk. I could imagine that happening. So 1-2 is not for me. So my first tip and my strongest tip, it would be a 3-point tip. If I was to give 5 points out in tipping value, is Wales. I don't know if I can show you here, but I've already had £30 on Wales, and I got 8-1. I got bits just above and bit below, just on. This is on Betfair, just win only, because yes, you could back them each way. They've got an unbelievable record. They won it in 2020, I believe. They won it in 2023, and they've got to a final previously as well. Johnny Clayton and Gerwyn Price are they're just an unbelievable team. So, I've been umming and ahhing how to play it. You could go, they're 11-2 with the best price with the bookies, a third of the odds to get to the final. But for me, I just feel, yes, if you'll get nearly 3-1 if they're not a third of the odds. Some of these are half the odds. So with, say, Bet Victor, you would get 5-2 on them getting to the final. I get that. I understand why some people would do that. But the trouble is, if you get, say, Holland and you get a bad draw, which can easily happen, you get 3 bad teams that you don't really want to be playing in second round, quarterfinal, semis. It doesn't make the each way part of it value at all. If they got a good draw, obviously, but we don't know that until the draws happened, and I might bet again depending on what happens there. But for win only at 8-1, I think Wales, like I say, Gerwyn Price is playing unbelievable at the minute. Johnny Clayton just won a European Tour event and then went deep into another one. These guys are playing well. They've got an unbelievable pairs record. The Welsh are very, very tough to beat. They're going to be up for this. They're very good friends. I think they're a great pair. Would I back them? I expect their value. They should be around 4-1, maybe 7-2. I would never have them at 8-1 like I had them. That's why I put my 30 quid on. That's actually the reason I'm making this video, more because I like watching it. I probably wouldn't have had much money on it. It's not something I'm interested in. But I found 3 teams that I thought were good value against the favourites because England are too short, in my opinion. And yeah, so my 3 points bet is on Wales to win the World Cup. So second up, I was looking at potentially backing Northern Ireland because you've got Gurney and you've got Josh Rock. Great pairing there, but they're in England's half of the draw. I don't know how. I expect they'll gel well. Rock's been playing amazing. Gurney's been good. For me, at 20-1, I believe they were. It just wasn't big enough. Again, you give me maybe double that, I'll have a go. I'm not having a go at 20-1. And Scotland, you've got Gary Anderson and Peter Wright, great team, and I think they got to the final last year, got humped, maybe the semis, they got humped by England, maybe 10-4 or something like that. It wasn't close. They're a good pairing. Gary doesn't play as much, as he used to, which might be a good thing. And when he's on, he's unbelievable, one of the best in the world. Peter Wright hasn't been that player. But Peter Wright did win with Henderson. So he's won this tournament before Peter Wright. The price isn't quite good enough for me. I saw they were 12-1 and they're a bit bigger on win only. I don't know. I'd like to see how they get on together for the first few games. They're not the worst price, but not for me. So my second selection, and I thought these were a really good bet. For me, home advantage is huge. The boys always do well when they're in their home team. Like Max Hopp used to love playing in front of the crowd. Schindler does. Schindler's unbelievable on the European Tour. And Petresco, again, same thing on the European Tour. Amazing players. There's a lot in that region of Germany, and they love it. They play to the crowd together. It's a new pairing. Potentially, they could gel really well. They could be a really, really good team. We don't obviously know where they're going to get slotted in. They might be slotted in here against England, and they might, just have to take them out straight away. I think that's a good pair. And I don't know what price. So they're 33-1 each way. I don't know if you got half the odds there. I wouldn't put anyone off backing them each way actually at that price. But I've backed them at 40-1. But I got them at 40-1. I think that's my 1 point bet. I've had £10 on them at 40-1. I think they're an absolutely great bet. And lastly, and this was frustrating because just as I started the video up, just before I saw that Belgium, there was a lot of money available at 90-1, and there was a little bit at 95. And I've actually backed Belgium, not for a lot because I couldn't get much on. It was about £4 at 120-1. I think they're a brilliant, brilliant price. You can't really argue with the price. I'd be amazed if anyone can argue with that price. Good luck to you. You've got Mike de Decker and Dimitri van der Berg. They're 2 amazing players. Even if it's not been quite the run up to this that they'd have wanted, they're both still brilliant. Belgium, they're gritty, they're tough. I think they're massively overpriced. Again, I wouldn't be backing. They're 28-1 with the bookies, which, best price. So a lot of them are 20-1 16s. I think 33-1 is fair. like I say, the price has been backed in just before I got on here, but you can still get 42 to 1. I don't think that's a bad bet, and you might actually, you can get, sorry, 48 to 1, and it might get bigger. You might be able to get bigger come tomorrow. I think that's a big price for Belgium. Like I say, I've had 120, but I put on the everything that I've done on my thumbnail and everything. I put 90 to 1 because it was there. There was quite a lot. There was a tenner and there was more money at others, but someone's clearly backed all of it at 90 to 1, £12.12. And then the people that had odds at 75 and 85, which were there, have just withdrawn their thing from the market. Maybe someone's tipped them up somewhere. They should never be anywhere near that price. I mean, 120 to 1 is ridiculous, in my opinion. They might not do very well. They might not even qualify, but I cannot be leaving them. Because even if they get put up against England or Wales or anybody, I'd still think they've got a hell of a shot to beat those guys in a doubles format, in a quite a long doubles format. Yeah, I wouldn't be worried about putting them in against everywhere. And if they get a good run, if they get a good draw, they might get to the semis without having to play anyone. And you've got a ticket of 90 to 1, and I've got a ticket of higher than that at 120 to 1. For me, great bet. They're free, all free, in my opinion, are really good bets. Please let me know who you fancy, guys, for this. I'm sure a lot of guys will like England. I can completely understand that. I'm just a bit too tight and my gambling style doesn't fit for that. But please let me know if you like England, Wales, Scotland, whoever you like. And I'll respond to comments below. But most importantly, guys, take care.